Welcome to Off the Cuff, episode 13, where we're going to answer your questions about LEGO. If you have any questions for us, please comment below so we can answer those next month. Today we've got questions covering modulars, new sets, and some remakes of retro sets. So it should be a fun discussion.
Oh, that's good stuff.
All right, we're going to start off with a few easy, quick questions, and then we've got a couple good discussion questions at the end.
Okay.
All right, so our first question is, how do you connect modular buildings? Is there a special brick, or do you just set them next to each other?
Okay, so technically, see how I did this? Technically, you use Technic bricks that have a 1x2 brick with a pin, and then you can connect them in. However, here's what I've noticed, is it's actually kind of difficult to put a bunch of modulars together with Technic pins and bricks because the friction on the pins doesn't always work well. So I remove all of the pins and I just place them next to each other. So yes, there are the Technic pins that you can actually have them connected. There's 2 bricks on the base of either side of a modular building, but if you're just frustrated trying to put them together, take the pins out, line them up, go with it.
All right, good advice. Okay, the next question is about the new Burrow that's coming out, Harry Potter. Okay. And this person wanted to know if the doubling of the piece count is mostly due to fully enclosing it.
I don't know about mostly due to that. I think it's partially due to that. I think there's 2 things. One is enclosing it, but the other one is the amount of details in the interior. If you look at the pictures of the Burrow, there's so many Easter eggs and little things in there, and some sneaky building techniques to get things to work that way. So for instance, you have the fireplace with the flue network built into the set, which is parts intensive. You also have a lot of little mini builds, like some of the Muggle artifacts that Arthur likes to collect, and then you've got this bathroom that's just like very, very small but densely packed. All of the space, I mean, if you just look at the pictures, the interior is decked out with details, and so that adds a lot of pieces to it. If you've watched our video on the modular music shop, if you haven't, I'll just slip that up right there for you. But there's a lot of pieces that go into the interior of a building, and if you do it the right way, it adds up over time. So I think that's a part of it as well. Usually adding like one more wall does add pieces, but because you're using larger pieces like bricks, it's not as many as some of the small ones that you get on the interior.
Okay. This one comes from a video on the tournament Temple City, and they want to know if you were to rotate it just a little bit, if it would fit on the shelf without any overhang.
It's really tough because it's angled, and so that angle almost never really sits flush against the back. There's only going to be, you basically have to pick which side of the building, of the set, do you want against the back of your shelf. In some ways, it's kind of like Rivendell, but with Rivendell, I think it's maybe a little bit more manageable because the long section where the council sits is the largest part, and that you can sit on the shelf flush against the back. This one has a little bit more awkward angles to it. Maybe the part by the bridge, but even then, at the end of the bridge, it kind of angles out a little bit more. So I think it's kind of tricky and messy to display. And it's a fantastic set. I really enjoyed it. But I do know that it takes maybe a little bit different shelf, or if you want to put it on a table, it could work. So I think it's one of the struggles that I have with displaying sets, is figuring out the best way to do that and finding shelves that are reasonable, that highlight your LEGO collection well, that allows you to fit some of these larger models. I think the Tournament Temple City with those angles, and another one, Barad-dûr, really tough to display just because of its height. I think, and I don't have this one, but the Avengers Tower would be the same for me.
And the original Ninjago City is really tall too, right?
Yeah, I mean, the Ninjago City itself is tall, and what's even more interesting is the Ninjago City Gardens is even taller. Like that one we have on display next to Ninjago City, and it's like you got to take the top of that radio tower off. So some of these sets are really, really tall, and that's not even getting into ones like the Eiffel Tower that is 5 feet tall. Like I just don't really know what you're supposed to do with some of these, and that's part of the challenge of collecting LEGO, especially if you have that amount of disposable income. Of course, I guess if you have that much, then maybe you can buy really special shelves and all of that. So,
Yeah. All right, our next question is, have you ever tried to build a set without instructions?
yeah, actually, I mean, I guess it depends on what you define as set. There are a couple things that I've done over the years to challenge my building techniques, skills, and my ability to analyze an image and know what's going on in it. So when I was a kid, we used to have Lego ideas books. You can actually search them on Brickset, Bricklink. You might be able to find some of them, but they're old school, like 1980s ideas books, and they might have some instructions for creations you see in there, but a lot of them are pictures of like, here's this medieval layout or this space layout or this town or city, and it uses pieces from sets that are currently available, and you can build. And it's like any number of quantity of those sets. It's not like they just pick one of each of the sets currently available and build something out of that. I mean, they'll just take like all these huge castle panel windows and put them in a big castle, and if you had all of the castles ever built by Lego or put out by Lego, you wouldn't be able to do it. So I would do that. Another thing that I've done is to actually, we did this a couple months ago, is to build a gift with purchase that Lego was putting out. It was the sweet shop or the candy shop as part of their like $200 and whatever spending threshold to get, and we weren't going to spend that much money at Lego, or actually any money on Lego that month. So we just decided to build it on our own without instructions. We also did a Halloween challenge, I think a couple of years ago, where we had a very small set. And so my recommendation would be, if you want to do something like that, I think it really helps increase your Lego skills in building and seeing how a set can come together. Start small. Don't go for a massive set without, really looking at, what you have and what your skill level is. Of course, with many sets, it's very difficult to build them just because they're large and complex, but also because they use specialized pieces that Lego can put out that you may not have in your collection. New colors, new prints, stickers, and things like that. So don't go trying to build that Burrow without instructions off the images, but something smaller. And I think some of the gifts with purchase or some of those poly bags, or maybe not even those, but some smaller gift with purchase would be fantastic for that. And by the way, fun to do together.
Yeah, the video we put out a couple years ago was a family activity, and we used the 3D view of the Trick or Treat Halloween set, and we're able to figure out where all the pieces went.
And that 3D rotating video or image was on brickset.com. So if you find a small set you want to do, and that was, a while ago, that was, the set came out a while ago, it wasn't like a brand new set. So somebody uploaded a 3D image of that you could rotate, and that was really helpful for doing that build. Not every single build in those Lego idea books that I mentioned earlier don't give you all, 360 degrees, but you can see quite a bit of it, and it's fun. It's fun to do that.
Yeah. Okay, our next question, maybe a little bit outdated, but the question was, what August 2024 sets are you planning to get?
None. Short and simple
how
answer.
about September?
Yeah, so part of this is like, if you are into Lego like we are and you pay attention to what's coming out in the future, and you have, whether it's rumors, well-sourced rumors apparently, or you just kind of know what Lego's going to be coming out with, right? So I think it's important for us to think about what we want to get toward the end of the year and save up money for that. So the month of August, I think there's some really cool sets that came out, but we were really hopeful that we could save up our money for things like potentially the Burrow. I'm still not sold on whether or not we're going to get the Burrow, and we've got 1 week when we're recording this to when it comes out, so we'll see. But then, of course, coming down the line, we've got the Winter Village set, which we usually like to get because it's a great family activity. We can take it to my parents' house, we build it, we have hot chocolate or, the Christmas, whatever it is. Like, we just kind of have fun with that. And then, of course, we've got, per the rumors, a couple potential modular buildings, the official 2025 one coming out in December, as well as 2 other modular buildings that are modular compatible buildings that might come out. So that's kind of what we're saving our money up for. Now, of course, there are other sets rumored to come out. We know that every single year, Lego comes out with a massive UCS Star Wars set toward the end of the year, or September, October, something like that. So anticipate that coming out. That could be November for all I know. But that's rumored to be Jabba's sail barge. Even though we're not really planning on getting that, that's one. So when we don't buy Lego every single month, it's because we're anticipating what's coming out and sticking to a budget. In fact, I know it's a Lego YouTube channel here, but we've only purchased a grand total of 6 Lego sets so far this year. And that just means they're really big sets, or, we're just, again, saving for maybe getting like a handful of sets toward the end of the year.
Yeah. I think a set that stuck out to me, and I think to you as well for the August releases, was I think it was Castle Nocturnia, it was called, from the Dreams line.
Yeah.
That one looked kind of cool.
It's a really cool set, yeah.
Not a set we're going to prioritize buying, but that one kind of stuck out. Well, it's kind of interesting, that set.
Yeah.
It's it really reminds me of the Dungeons and Dragons set, where it has the tower in the middle, and then a building off to one side, a tree off to the other.
Yeah, just a little smaller scale and more geared toward kids and fantasy and all that. Yeah, there's some really cool sets coming out in August. And so it's not that we don't like the sets. It's that, we're trying to operate under, our budgetary constraints and, think about how do we get some of the sets we want versus which ones might work well in the channel. And just navigating all of that, which is a whole separate discussion.
Okay, our last question today is, what retro remake would you like to see LEGO do next? So, they've already done the Galaxy Explorer and the Lion Knight's Castle, the El Dorado Fortress. All these are kind of remakes of retro sets.
Yeah, I mean, they had the Forest Hideout, and then they had Magisto's Workshop. So those are ones that come out with. I think it's about time for LEGO to bring back the Wild West. I think that would be a lot of fun. And here's my rationale. And I think we're going to be seeing some of that in the next few years. My prediction, certainly within the next 5 years, we'll see remakes of Wild West. Here's why. LEGO loves to tap into nostalgia. And so if you wait 25, 30 years, you'll get there, right? And so we know that the last couple of years they've done some castle stuff, and that's really hearkening back to the 1980s, early 1990s castle era. Well, Wild West was the mid to late 90s. And so you fast forward about 5 years or so from what they've been currently on, then we're going to get some of those. And so I think there's a good chance we might get something along those lines. Could be a Bandit's Hideout, it could be something else like a general store or something like that. We also, and this is interesting, if you pay attention to the Bricklink Designer Program, they've had a number of Wild West creations be approved and sold on that, which I did a whole thing on the Bricklink Designer Series declaring war on modular buildings because they're not allowing submissions for that. My thought process behind that is that LEGO is doing this in part because they get to test out ideas that might work better on a larger scale. Not larger in terms of larger set, but just mass produced. And so if they see these Wild West sets doing really well on the Bricklink Designer Program, it might spur them to make some remakes or do some gifts with purchase focused on those sets. So that's my bold prediction. In 5 years after you subscribe, of course, to the channel, so you know when we're posting videos, you can comment if we haven't seen anything. That would be the end of 2029. How's that for bold prediction?
I like it. I remember playing with some of those sets with my brother, and the Fort Legoretto was really cool.
Oh, classic. If they redid that, that'd be amazing, yeah.
There was a bank robbery set or something.
Yeah.
Anyway, those were really fun.
Yeah, my younger brother had those as well. I kind of aged out of Lego early. I think by the time I was 12, not even 12, like 10, 11 years old, I started aging out of Lego and entered, the dark ages, if you will. But my younger brother was into those and had a number of them. He did not have Fort Legoretto, but he did have the general store, the bank. He had the Bandit's Hideout and a couple of other ones. So it'd be great if they brought those back, maybe similar to the El Dorado Fortress, just kind of almost a similar footprint, but just, brick built, and just
not those big panels with the wood.
Yeah, not those big panels. Yeah, which had their place and time. We all liked them as kids. As adults, you're kind of like, okay, well, that's kind of a cheap way to build it. Not cheap, like inexpensive, but in terms of building techniques and setting up the build and allowing you to do a lot of things with it. So, yeah.
Nice. Thanks for watching. Remember to comment with those questions below. Just please like, subscribe, and always remember to keep building together.